but luxuries become necessities in some ways. So that's the opposite, right? When you have a ton of money, um, there are some freedoms, right? But there's also these issues, right, that can turn into negatives. Is that making sense? It's a like a yin and a yang, right? A pro and a con, right? Not necessarily good or bad. It's just two opposites, or opposites, I should say. So, how about the converse of this? What if you're broke, right? What if you can't pay your bills? What if you're living check to check, right? Which I'm sure all of us have been there at some point, right? I know I have several times. Um, the positive is you have to be resourceful. If you only got $100 in the bank and you got to feed your kid and pay your tolls and buy gas, what are you going to do? You're probably going to create budgets. You're probably going to create priorities. You're going to become resourceful with ways to maybe make a little extra or save a little more, right? That's a positive, right? Those things that are really important, the necessities, really become appreciated and and cherished. Sometimes in the past, when we've gone out with a caravan of love and we've fed homeless people or got them clothes or whatever, you can really see how some of these things that I might take for granted or you might take for granted. Um, just how cherished these things are to people that don't have. Um, Simple things can create entertainment. I grew up in Miami, right? And I already told you that, dad worked two jobs and we didn't have a lot of money. But I can remember on Saturdays, my dad would put me in the car and we drive down to the international airport on the side of the airport, the like the access road. And he had this radio that picked up the air traffic controllers, right? And we'd sit there for hours and we'd listen to air traffic control and the pilots, and you could see the tail number. And it's like it didn't cost us a dime, and we had a blast, right? So little things can create entertainment. How many of you have kids that on Christmas Day, right? They open 6 boxes, 10 boxes, and before you know it, they're not playing with the toys; they're playing with the boxes, right? Simple things create entertainment, right? You don't need park passes or whatever we're into, right? And then you budget obviously to survive, and that creates priorities. Every penny, every dollar becomes essential. So you really focus on what's important. So again, pros and cons, right? You've got when it's in abundance, when it's short supply, the positivity of it. What about the negatives when you're broke, right? Or when you're down on your luck a little bit, right? Definitely creates stress, right? It's a terrible feeling to think you're not going to be able to pay the rent or feed your kids, right? Or pay your employees next paycheck. You gotta mortgage your house or get a loan or sell something so you can get money in the bank to make payroll on next Friday, right? Terrible feeling, terrible feeling. A lot of stress. Um, when money's in short supply, it limits your access to opportunities, right? Um, there's opportunities abound, but a lot of times to take advantage of them, you need you need money, right, to take advantage of them, or they come to people from other people that know that you have it. If you don't have it, people don't present you with things necessarily. How about access to healthcare? I was just talking to someone today, my dad actually, and he was complaining about his health care for next year, right? His premium, he's retired, and he has a very good retirement plan, good health plan, but he has to pay X amount of dollars to cover my mom, right? And he was complaining. He says, "Will you believe it was X number of dollars for the last several years, and now that I get a letter that says um, it's going to go up a little bit." Well, and he's complaining, it more than doubled, right? Now, my dad gets a check every month, right? He's retired. He don't get me wrong, he's not a wealthy man, but he doesn't really want, right? But my point is, imagine if you don't have that regular check and you need health care and it doubles, or the price of gas goes from what, three something to six something, right? When you lack funds, you definitely have less access to healthcare services, like we talked about, or like we could talk about, and it reduces our self perception. I know in the past, when I was struggling financially, it definitely hit my self esteem a little bit. It can definitely hurt the way you feel about yourself or perceive yourself. And then, in a really rare occasion, I'm happy to say I've never done this, but it could lead to crime, right? To do things, you resort to to almost anything sometimes if you need to take care of your family. So that's the converse, right? We've got pros and cons of having too much money or plenty of money or not enough money. Making sense so far? So that begs the question, right? Um, is money the root of all evil? Right? We hear that a lot, right? There's always a discussion about money. And it goes all the way back to different biblical phrases. Um, the point here, though, is with or without money, we all face the same challenges. Whether I got a million in the bank or I got a penny in the bank, I still got to feed my family. I still got to provide shelter. I've still got to get to work or find a job. I've got to buy clothes. I got to buy food. I got to have a place to live. Right? It doesn't matter. Right? We all face the same challenges, and money is important. But the question is it the root of all evil? And um, I believe what you'll find also the flip side of that, right? We're talking about money, and then if we don't have money, right? Does it breed innovation? And the reason I put that question in there, right, or why that question was in the talk, is is when we talk about innovation, they always, this is a common saying, right? And this was in, I forget the question in the Spirits book, but they asked the question, right? Does necessity necessarily breed innovation? Well, it does, but sometimes that innovation is negative, right? There's some brilliant people out there, some industrious people that find ways to use their innovation to hurt people, right? To rob them, to steal from them, to scam them, right? So the question here is money the root of all evil? We can answer that a couple different ways. And this one is always considered a positive thing, like necessity breeds innovation. Well, yeah, most of the time we can talk about it like that, but it also can breed some negative things. For all of you that get those emails that you just inherited $10 million, but you have to call me, right, to get it. It's that kind of stuff, right? So, um, biblically, right? If you read different chapters, different verses, when money comes up, biblically, it really does not appear that God or the authors of the Bible or Christ and the gospel condemn money. It doesn't appear that money is a bad thing. Rather, it's our pursuit of it, right? What will we do for money? How important is it to us? What bad actions will we commit? Um, if we love it too much, it'll lead us astray because we'll do things for it. We'll hurt people. We'll take advantage of people. We'll lower our morals, our values to get more of it. So the point here is money should it serves a purpose, right? My dad, like I said, he always said that money's not everything, but it beats whatever's in second place, right? His point, I think, right, or what my take from that is, money definitely serves a purpose, right? But it should not be our purpose. We should not be living our life for money. And I can think from my own life, right? There's been different points in my life where I chased money. You know what happened every time? I lost money, right? I was always without. I was always wanting more. I never had enough. And then there's been times in my life when I've had plenty of money, and it dawned on me that those are the times that I didn't worry about money. I was helping people. I was serving. I was doing good things. And this just really rang true for me, right? Um, if money is your purpose, you're heading down the wrong road. If serving others, right, is your purpose, right? Um, then then it's all good. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm rambling, but no, everybody's with me. Nobody's sleeping. Ah, good. I don't have to spray. Right? It's good. All right. So that leads us into the spirits book now. All right, the law of preservation. Um, and one of the laws, right, that we live by, that we talk about, is self-preservation. Right, we have a duty to stay alive. Right, from the beginning of time. Right, we've had to stay alive, perpetuate the species. For us, from a spiritist perspective, it's not just about materially living and staying alive. It's also about evolving morally. The goal, obviously, is each day live a little bit better than we did yesterday, right? And the mistakes that we've made previously in this life and other lives, we're living the consequences of those choices, and we have the opportunity to atone, overcome, and leave this life morally more advanced than when we entered it. Um, Little by little, evolving wonderfully. Um, and the the point of money, right, in this life is it's a tool. That's it. We need money to pay the bills. We need money to feed ourselves. We need money to live, to pay rent, what have you. So it's truly a tool for self-preservation, not to be looked at negatively or positively necessarily. The actions that we employ to acquire it, that's what we should look at, because that determines or helps define our morals and our involvement. And ultimately, our purpose in this life and each life is to grow morally and be less tied materially to 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 bad actions. All right, just one more hour. I'm almost done. I'm just kidding. All right, so question 704 from the Spirits book asks, since God has given human beings the need to stay alive, does God always provide them with the means of doing so? Well, if you ask my children, they will tell you that um, that God doesn't necessarily provide everything, right? It's not really a joke, but it's funny how the perspective changes, right? Um, what we know, I think, right? The answer to this, right, is that God, everything we need is provided, not everything we want, right? And my kids don't always understand that. They want, but they don't necessarily need. But I think we do understand this, right? Um, and we also know, right, from this question, right, that if we don't necessarily find them, it's not because it's not there. It's because we don't necessarily understand. Oftentimes, we go down a road thinking that we want and need a certain outcome, and something completely different happens, and everything works out. Anybody ever have an experience like that where you prayed and you hoped for one outcome and it didn't happen, and you thought your life was over, and then months or years go by and you're living this amazing life, right? Your dream didn't come true, um, but what you needed happened, and life is okay. I joke about my first marriage. Um, um, when that ended, it wasn't my idea, and I was very painful, terrible experience, and I thought my life was over. Well, that was over 20 something years ago, and I have to pinch myself, right? Because I'm married to my wife today for almost 18 years. I have three amazing daughters. Every dream I could ever think of happening is happening, and at the time of that terrible experience, I would have thought my life was over, and didn't want to live anymore. So the point is, what I wanted didn't happen, but what I needed to happen actually happened. And I think we can all tell stories about this in our lives. Um, the point here to the answer to question 704 is that the spirits told Kardec that God could not have given humans the need to stay alive without also giving them the means. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have what you needed to thrive and survive. It may not be what you want always, but you definitely have access to everything you need. Furthermore, right, they said that the Creator caused the earth to produce in such a way as to provide for the needs of all inhabitants, for only that which is necessary is useful. Which begs the question, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. If that's the case, if the earth has everything we need for everyone, then why is there such disparity, right, in populations and societies, when we're told that everything that's needed for each of us is here on the earth? So that's the next question, right? 707. The why do we want? Why do we have people wanting? So Kardec asks, the means of subsistence are frequently lacking for certain individuals, even in the midst of the abundance around them. To what is this fact due? Why are some people wanting and in need? And the answer that he was given was, it's primarily due to the selfishness of humans. Does that resonate? I'm convinced that all of my problems uh, are hinged or based in ego and pride of mine, right? And all that stems from selfishness, right? The more selfish I am, the more problems I have. The less selfish I am, the more abundance I seem to have. So, um, primarily due to the selfishness of humans who do not always do what they should do, right? Most frequently due to themselves. And then they go on to say, seek and you shall find does not simply mean that it's enough to look to the earth, right? Just open your eyes and ask, right? To look for it in order to find what you desire. That you actually have to seek with ardor and perseverance, not with indifference. Seek and you shall find means you got to work a little bit. You got to try. Don't be discouraged by obstacles. Don't quit at the first no. Don't quit at the first turn of negativity. Um, these obstacles frequently, we're told, are simply means of testing your tenacity, testing your patience and firmness. And that if you can be persistent, how many of you remember or have kids that when they were really young, they never took your first answer, right? You said no, they asked again. You said no, they asked again. And it seems like the older we get, the more often we are to take no for an answer. There's a great book. It's a business book that says start with no. It doesn't apply to this, but it's a good read on the power of no and how to handle it. And what question 707 is really hitting home is it's very easy for us to get into our situation, whatever it is, our material situation. We're going through X or Y or Z, and this is all we've known, and we just keep doing it. We might pray about it, we might be looking for answers, but it takes more than just asking. We have to be persistent, we have to look for new ways, we have to try new things, and they realize that we don't always get what we want, but we will be provided with what we need as long as we keep trying. I'm making this sound easy, aren't I? Yeah. All right, so necessary. Um, we all have the same basic needs. We talked about that, right? Food, water, shelter, um, substance. Money is how we fulfill those basic needs. It's just a tool, right? In this material life, we all need it to live a human life these days. Um, the balance issue comes right in the temptation that we face, right? As I talked about in a few slides, right? The pursuit to be successful, the pursuit to acquire material wants and needs to provide for the family, right? It leads us down the road of temptation. I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it, I'm sure, to some degree. Well, that temptation tests us, right? So from those tests that we're presented with in this pursuit, in this life, our actions create consequences, and we're all living the consequences of those tests, our choices to those tests. And ultimately, the life I'm living today is determined by those choices I made when I was tempted in the past. And the life I live tomorrow is how I'm reacting to the choices today. Make sense? Awesome. Um, so the Spirit's book goes on to talk about now um, we have these needs, we have these wants, we have this temptation, right? How do we balance what we really need and the excess that is very tempting, right? And very easy to acquire at times. So, how do we balance that? Enjoy the fruits of the earth and do all of this without overindulging. I wish there was a formula, right? A recipe. And we're going to kind of get one today a little bit. But it really comes down to that first couple of sentences I told you when we started. But let's walk through the different questions in the Spirit's book. All right, question 711, right? It asks, is the use of the fruits of the earth a right of all humans? A right? Like, are we entitled to the use of all the fruits of the earth? What do you think? Is it a right? Privilege? An entitlement? Well, the spirits tell Kardec that that right is a consequence of the need to stay alive, right? We're brought into the world. We're a living being, a spiritual being in a physical body. God would not impose the duty to persevere and to live without granting us the means to fulfill it. So again, whatever our situation, whatever our lot in this life that we've created based on our previous choices, there's always a solution. There's always something to learn. There's always a way to persevere and move forward positively. Because again, we wouldn't be in these opportunities, in these situations. God would not impose those on us without also giving us the opportunity and the means to persevere. Easy, right? Why does it seem so hard then, right? So difficult at times. Question 712 Kardec asked, towards what end has God made the enjoyment of material things attractive? That's a great question, right? Some things are so tempting. Well, there's a reason, right? To drive humans to the fulfillment of their mission, right? What is your mission, right? Our mission is to persevere. Our mission is to grow and evolve morally, not materially, right? We're supposed to evolve morally. So that's our mission. We're tempted to fulfill that mission and to test us, right? It's easy to fall, easy to give in to this temptation. what's the purpose of the temptation? Why does he do that? Right? Why does there have to be temptation? Um, why? And the answer that we're given to this question is to develop the reason so that they may keep themselves from excess. How many of you make the same mistake twice, 3 times, 4 times, 100 times? Right? Me. How long is it going to take? Right? God, I appreciate the what you're trying to do, but when am I going to learn? Right? When am I going to evolve? And the truth of the matter is, little by little, I am evolving. You're evolving. Look, where are we on a Thursday night? We're in a Spiritism center, listening to some guy talk about temptation. Right? There's got to be something more exciting going on in town, but we're here. So little by little, we're evolving. All right. Um, so 715 asks, right? How can people know the limit of what is necessary? I just asked you, right? 100 times, 500 times. How many times do we make the same mistake? How will people know the limit of what is necessary? Well, I love this answer, right? So those that are sensible know by intuition, right? Um, Many recognize it at the cost of their own experience. And I think the truth is, right, for me, probably for all of us, is when I'm messing up and I'm not making the right choices, I know the intuition is there. This answer is perfect, right? The sensible know by intuition. So sensibly, my intuition's good, but I'm not I'm not so smart, right? Because I don't listen to that intuition. I don't listen to my guardian angel. I don't listen to that little angel. I listen to the devil on this shoulder sometimes, right? As opposed to the angel over here. But based on my experience of making mistakes, little by little, this comes true, right? I pay the price every day for choices I made previously, right? And the choices I make today, a lot of times, are a little bit better than the ones I made yesterday. So, by my own experience, I'm going to get better about understanding what's necessary and what's excess. So, it comes down to this, right? Do not make money your goal, right? If money is your goal, I do believe that balance will not be found. I could be wrong, but from my own limited experience, I've never been, an Elon Musk, right? But I had periods in my life where I was up here and then I was down here, and usually when I'm down here, it's because I was chasing the money, right? No way to live, right? We should make our goal to serve. How can I help you today? How can I help my fellow man? How can I help the world be a better place? That doesn't mean I have to not get a paycheck. It doesn't mean that I have to deprive myself, right? And live a life perhaps like Gandhi or others, right? But each day, if I can serve my fellow man, my neighbor, love my neighbor as myself, right? What can I do for them, right? That should be my goal, to serve, not the paycheck, not making money. Is that easy enough? Can we do? Are we doing that? Can we do that more every day? I know I can do a better job of it for sure. Well, we ask ourselves these questions, right? Does that mean that we have to donate all of our possessions to charity, right? Do I have to quit my job? Do I have to work for free? Does that mean I can't enjoy life? I can't have any passions or hobbies? Does that mean I can't buy gifts for friends and family? Do I have to give up material things? And the answer is no. That's not the job, right? That's not the edict here. The simple edict here, the simple rule, the law, if you will, is simply don't make money your goal, right? It's okay. Make a check. Get paid. It's okay, but don't make that your goal, right? And with the money that you do have and the resources that you have, it doesn't have to be money. You might just have a really amazing skill. Maybe you're a wonderful singer. Well, go sing for people, right? Go sing in a choir at church, or go sing downtown, or whatever, whatever your hobby is. Maybe you're just a really hard worker, right? And you don't have a special skill like me. I don't really have a special skill necessarily, but I got time. I can go help feed the homeless. I can go pick up trash on the side of the road. I can serve in whatever capacity I can. And that should be our goal, to serve our fellow man from our heart, not to be recognized, not to receive money, but to serve. And the more we serve, the more balance we will find in our lives. So I leave you with just a little bit more here. All right. What the gospel tells us, okay, um, is that detachment from possessions, right, is okay. Attachment to earthly possessions uh, constitutes one of the strongest obstacles. How many of you, if I came to your house tonight and said, "Give me everything you have," you got to give it to me. You can't have it. How many of you would be crushed? Right? How many of you would just fall apart? Don't get me wrong. I think it'd be painful for all of us, but 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 I think if we're at a point, I think the goal for me, and I'm not saying I'm there 100%, but my wife and I were just talking about this. Um, she's going through a little bit of an issue right now, and we were talking about um, worst case scenario type stuff, right? And I was just really, really impressed with where we were with this. Um, we have each other. We have our kids, and it didn't matter where we live or we're at a point in life where, man, that would stink, if it came to that. But we'd be okay. I couldn't have told you that 10 years ago, right? If you said I was going to lose everything, right, which I did at a couple points in my life, man, it was the end of my world. But I'm cool with it now. Take everything I have, well, except my wife and my kids. Right. So I'm not there yet. Right. I got more to do. Right. The point is, um, what they're telling us here in the gospel is this attachment to things. Right. My car, my job, my my 1953 penny. Right. That's worth $800. Right. So stuff like that. It's one of the strongest obstacles to our moral and spiritual development. Right. When we cling to possessions, when we defined by what we own, right? It's truly the strongest obstacle. But that doesn't mean we go without. Just don't be so tied to it. Don't. If it disappears tomorrow, you're still on your mission. You're still who you are. But there's no requirement to dispose of possessions. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just don't be tied to it so much. So I'll leave you with this. All right. Our mission, right, is when abundance is provided to you. In other words, you have what you need. You're eating, you're living, you're not in the elements. You have protection. You don't want necessarily for things. So when abundance is provided to you, know how to employ it usefully, without pride, ego, or attachment. Don't let your selfishness hang on to it and deprive others, or don't take advantage of other people to get more of it, right? Use it without pride, ego, or attachment. And conversely, when you're down on your luck, when abundance is absent, learn to live without resentment or sorrow. Make sense? So easy. Now get out there and go do it. All right? I think that's my last slide. It is. Hey, thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate you putting up with me, and I appreciate the opportunity to share what I learned. Thank you so much.
All right, Al, one more night. All right, Anthony.